The savage victor.
While ancient history is shrouded in a fog of myth, the story of Rome stands out as a unique epic, blending the tale of the she-wolf with the realities of the Iron Legion. It is the story of a mud-brick village that rose to become the mistress of the world, teaching humanity how nations are built and how they crumble when they devour themselves from within. On the muddy banks of the Tiber River in the mid-8th century BC, there were only 7 hills covered in scrubland and malaria-infested swamps. The founding myth, which the Romans believed with reverence, tells of twins, Romulus and Remus, sons of the war god Mars, who were thrown into the river to die, but were rescued and nursed by a she-wolf. When they grew up, they decided to build a city, but a dispute arose between them over the location of the walls. In a moment of rage, Romulus killed his brother Remus, and Rome was born from the first sin of blood, proclaiming its identity as a city of warriors where there was no place for emotional weakness. Archaeological history, however, tells a less glamorous but more realistic story. Rome began as a collection of nomadic Latin and Sabine tribes, who for centuries were subject to the rule of their more civilized northern neighbors, the Etruscans. The first 7 kings of Rome were a mix of Latins and Etruscans, and it was they who taught the Romans aqueduct, engineering, temple construction, and military organization. In 509 BC, the explosion occurred. The last king, Tarquin the Arrogant, was a brutal tyrant, and when his son assaulted the noblewoman Lucretia, the Roman nobility revolted, deposed the king, and swore an oath that shook history: no king shall rule Rome again. From this oath was born the Republic res publica, meaning public affairs. The Romans devised an ingenious political system to prevent tyranny. Instead of a single ruler, 2 consuls, elected for 1 year each, held power, each overseeing the other, with a senate representing the wisdom of the elders. Under the banner of SPQ are the Roman Senate and people. Rome transformed into an unstoppable expansionist machine. To become the mistress of the Mediterranean, Rome had to eliminate its old master, Carthage. The legendary Carthaginian general Hannibal nearly obliterated Rome when he crossed the Alps with elephants. But Roman indomitable spirit ultimately prevailed. When Carthage fell in 146 BC, the Romans burned it to the ground and salted its soil. In the same year that Carthage burned to the west, Rome turned its gaze eastward toward Greece. Roman legions marched to confront the heirs of Alexander the Great, and a long Greek spear shattered against the short Roman sword at the Battle of Pedin, followed by the destruction of Corinth. Ships returned to the Tiber River, laden with gold and, something even more valuable, Greek slaves. The Roman generals found themselves in a civilizational dilemma. They possessed the world, but they lacked the words to describe it. Greek slaves were more educated than their conquering masters. In the palaces of Rome, a remarkable transformation took place. Roman leaders entrusted their sons to these slaves to teach them philosophy and rhetoric. Rome began a comprehensive process of cloning. Roman gods donned Greek masks, Zeus became Jupiter, and architects imitated Corinthian columns. Despite the stern warnings of the senator Cato the Elder that these Greeks will corrupt the manhood of the Romans, young Romans fell in love with Greek magic. Thus, Greco-Roman civilization was formed, a brilliant partnership in which Rome provided the body, power, and law, and Greece the soul, art, and philosophy, confirming the poet Horace's saying, "Greece, conquered, its savage victor." But the very victories and the new culture that made Rome rich and civilized were the same ones that destroyed its simple republic. The Senate became corrupt, and the generals transformed into warlords. Then came Julius Caesar. He crossed the Rubicon in 49 BC with his army. Caesar triumphed and proclaimed himself dictator, but he was assassinated by senators who believed they were saving the Republic, which was already dying. From Caesar's blood emerged his nephew Octavian Augustus. He cleverly ended the chaos and declared himself first citizen, not king. With him began the Pax Romana, which lasted for 2 centuries. Rome transformed from a city of brick to a city of marble, and great emperors like Trajan and Hadrian ruled an empire stretching from the fog of Scotland to the sands of Iraq, all governed by a single city. Nothing lasts forever. In the 3rd century, chaos struck the empire. Emperor Constantine tried to save it by moving the capital to Constantinople in the east and converting to Christianity. But this was a death sentence for the aging Western Rome. The city was left to face its fate at the hands of the Germanic barbarian hordes. In 476 AD, the Germanic general Odoacer entered Rome and deposed the last emperor, the young Romulus Augustus. Politically, Rome fell, but its hybrid spirit, Roman power, and Greek intellect remained. Europe inherited it, and the spectre of the Eternal City continued to hover over the old continent, a testament to one of humanity's greatest experiments in power and order.